My name is Gianna. I am 23 years old, and I need to tell you about a girl named Alara. She moved into my building. My mother loved her. She got married, and within 3 days, she came back crying, broken, thrown out by her new husband on the 3rd day of her marriage. Why? This is Alara's story. A story that taught me more than I ever expected. It began the way many quiet lessons do, with someone moving into your life, someone you'd barely known. Alara moved into our apartment building. She was around my age, maybe a year older, confident, put together, always polite. My mother noticed her right away, and soon enough, the comparisons began. "Look at Alara," my mom would say. "She's so responsible, so organized. You should learn something from her. Try to be more like her." I rolled my eyes at first, but after a while, it started to bother me. I didn't dislike her. I didn't even know her that well, but hearing her name all the time created something between us. A distance, a quiet kind of rivalry. It wasn't her fault, but it was there. It had been only 2 or 3 months since she moved in. One afternoon, my mom and I were talking, just casual conversation, nothing serious. Then she mentioned something that caught me off guard. She said Alara's boyfriend had proposed. She said Alara was getting married next month. I stopped what I was doing. I looked at her. I said, "What, already?" I was surprised, shocked even. I asked, "How old is she?" My mom said she was my age, maybe 24, maybe 25. I couldn't believe it. She was so young. We both were. I remember the exact date of her wedding, March 28th, 2017. I didn't go to the ceremony. I wasn't that close to her, but all the celebrations took place in our community room. I saw her that day. She wore a beautiful white dress. Her smile was bright. Everyone congratulated her. She looked happy. She looked ready for this new chapter. I still didn't talk to her much, and honestly, I didn't try. The comparisons from my mother had built a wall. A soft wall, but a wall nonetheless. Still, I didn't wish her any harm. I had a soft spot for her. I hoped things would go well for her. 2 days later, everything changed. March 30th, 2017. I came home from work that evening. I opened the door to our apartment, and there she was, Alara, sitting on our couch in our living room. I froze in the doorway. I was completely shocked, stunned. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red and swollen. She had been crying. My mother was sitting beside her. She was crying too. Next to them was Alara's mother. Her name was Isolde. Isolde was holding my mother's hand. Her face was tight with anger and grief. People from the building had started to gather. Word had spread quickly. The bride had come back. On the 3rd day of her marriage. The 3rd day! I stood there, not knowing what to do. My mother looked up and saw me. Her eyes were full of tears. She said softly, "Go to your room." I nodded. I didn't ask any questions. I just turned and walked down the hall. But my mind was spinning. Why was Alara back? What had happened? She had just gotten married 2 days ago. What could have gone so wrong in just 2 days? I sat on my bed. I could hear voices from the living room. Low voices, sad voices, confused voices. Over the next few days, people came and went. Relatives, neighbors, and friends of the family. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Everyone had advice. They tried to talk to Alara. They tried to make her understand. They told her what she should have done, what she shouldn't have done, what was right, what was wrong. But no one told me anything. I was left out of the conversations. Maybe they thought I was too young. Maybe they thought I wouldn't understand. Or maybe they just didn't think I needed to know. So, I stayed quiet. I watched from a distance. 15 days passed like that. The apartment felt heavy. There was sadness in every corner. Tension hung in the air. Silence filled the spaces between words. Then, one evening, I overheard my parents talking. I was in my room. The door was slightly open. My mother's voice was low but clear. She was talking to my father. She said, "Tomorrow, you need to go with Isolde's brother." She said, "Take a few relatives with you." She said, "Go to Alara's in-laws." She said, "Talk to them." She said, "Ask them to take her back." She said, "Mistakes happen." She said, "There has to be some kind of solution." She said, "Marriages don't just end like this." She said, "They can't end this way." My father agreed. He said he would go. The next morning, they left early. I stayed home. Alara was upstairs with her mother, just one floor above me, 13 steps away. But I didn't have the courage to go up there. I didn't have the courage to knock on her door. I didn't have the courage to ask her what had happened, so I stayed downstairs waiting, praying that they would come back with good news. They returned in the evening. I was sitting on the couch when the door opened. I looked up. I searched their faces for hope, for relief, for something good. But I didn't find it. Isolde walked in first. She was holding a white bedsheet in her hands. It was folded neatly, but her face was anything but calm. She came inside and she started yelling, loudly, furiously. She yelled everything you could imagine. She said whatever came into her head. She didn't care who was listening. She didn't care how her words sounded. She didn't care how they landed. She yelled at Alara. She screamed at her. And then she said something I will never forget. She said, "It would have been better if girls like Alara were never born." She said, "I should never have had a daughter." She said, "It would have been better if you had died with your father." My heart stopped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother immediately stepped in. She looked at me and said, "Take Alara upstairs." Her voice was firm but kind. I nodded. I stood up and walked over to Alara. I gently took her by the arm. I led her toward the stairs, but even as we climbed, I could still hear the yelling. Very loud, very harsh, very painful. My mother followed us up. Isolde did too. We were afraid something terrible might happen. I still didn't know what had caused all of this. No one had told me, but I could feel the weight of it. Isolde didn't stop at words. She raised her hand. She hit Alara right across the face. Alara didn't fight back. She didn't defend herself. She just stood there crying, suffering in silence. My mother quickly stepped between them. She told me to take Alara back downstairs. She said she would handle Isolde. So I did. I brought Alara down. I sat her on the couch. I went to the kitchen and got her a glass of water. I handed it to her. I asked if she was all right. She didn't answer. She just stared at the floor. Her hands were shaking. I sat down beside her. I didn't know what to say. After a few minutes, I asked her again. I asked if she could tell me what had happened. She looked at me. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. She said, "I didn't bleed." I blinked. I didn't understand. I said, "What?" I had no idea what she meant. She was about to explain, but before she could, my mother came downstairs. She walked over to us. She told Alara to go back upstairs. She told her to help with her mother. She said everything would be fine. She brushed her hand gently over Alara's head. Alara stood up. She didn't say anything. She just walked back upstairs. My mother turned to me. She told me to stay out of it. She said it wasn't my business. I nodded. I said, Okay. But inside, I was confused. I was angry. I was heartbroken. I didn't understand. For the next 6 months, Alara's case dragged on. There were lawyers, there was paperwork, there were court dates, there were phone calls, there were meetings. And then, finally, it was over. Alara got divorced. That's it. The story is over. Well, almost. I forgot to mention something important. I forgot to tell you about the main character, the most important character in this entire story. It wasn't Alara. It wasn't her mother. It wasn't her husband. It wasn't even me. The main character was society. Society was there at Alara's wedding. Society was there when she came back. Society was there when she was judged, and society is still here right now, watching, judging, deciding. Our Constitution tells us we have rights. The right to education, the right to speak freely, the right to live our own lives. But society tells us something different. Society decides what we really have the right to do and what we don't. Alara's in-laws threw her out for one reason. She wasn't a virgin. That was it. That was the crime. That was the shame. Sex before marriage. How dare she? How shameless. How disgraceful. People whispered. They said, well, her father died when she was young. They said, this is what happens. They said, this is what you get when you send girls to college. They said, this is what you get when you let them have careers. They said, this is what you get when you give them freedom. Even here in modern America in the 21st century, there are still countless ways people judge whether you are pure or not. In some communities, the white sheet test still exists. If you don't bleed on your wedding night, you fail. You don't get your approval. You don't get your validation. You are labeled. You are shamed. You are sent away. But here's the truth. The question was never whether Alara was a virgin or not. The real question was whether she was pure. And who gets to decide that? Society. Always society. You know, our whole lives, we try to be good. Good daughter, good sister, good wife, good friend, and good lover. We spend every single day trying to be good in every relationship, in every role we play, no matter what it costs us. And we forget something very important. We forget that relationships come and go. People come and go. But first, before anything else, we have to be good humans. We tried so hard to make everyone happy, but no one was ever satisfied. Not our families, not our friends, not our partners, not our lovers, not society, and not even the world itself. Your reputation can be destroyed in a single moment. One mistake, one choice that society doesn't approve of, and everything you built is gone. Everything you worked for disappears. Alara was never my enemy. I see that now. I see it so clearly. Today I say, she was my friend. She taught me something powerful, something I will never forget. She taught me that someone's opinion can never define your character. Only you can do that. I felt proud of her. She fought for herself. She stood her ground. What the real truth was, I don't know. Maybe no one does. Maybe it doesn't even matter. But yes, dear society, honorable, judgmental, ever-watching society, I want to tell you something. I want you to listen. Please educate yourself. Please open your eyes. There are many medical reasons why a hymen breaks. Many reasons. And none of them have anything to do with who a woman really is. None of them define her worth. None of them define her character. None of them define her purity. So before you judge, before you whisper, before you destroy someone's life. Maybe take a moment and learn the truth. Thanks for listening to my story on Learn English by Stories. If you liked it, hit that subscribe button for Learn English by Stories. Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from.